Hey team, how's it going? You probably wonder what we do to prep a car for clear bra or detail a car. Well, I'm going to show it to you all in one video, and there's going to be chapters below, so feel free to skip around and check out each section. But I just bought a brand new CT4V Blackwing, and it hasn't been washed yet. I just got it from the dealer. It's got a couple fun things to work on it. For example, it had a previous vinyl wrap, and so there's a lot of adhesive residue, and I'm going to show you how to remove all that and how we clean the interior, you name it. All right guys, first thing we're going to do, and we always do this first, is we clean our wheels first. And I have a pretty concentrated version of American Detailer Garage F-Bomb here, and so I like to clean the tires and the wheels, but first I'm going to let it soak, and I'll show you what we do and what tools we use for that in just a second. One thing I immediately notice on this car is that it has tons of tire shine slung up in the wheel well and on the white paint. So we don't want that. The next step in our process is always going to be iron and fallout remover. It does tend to work better on dry surfaces. You can do it on a damp surface, but we're going to spray this pretty good. And I primarily use SB3 Decon. It actually is the one iron and fallout remover that smells semi-decent. So I'm going to get that spraying and dwelling. And what iron and fallout remover does is, whether it's rail transport, truck transport, or cargo ship, you name it, shards of metal, or just driving on the highway, construction especially, shards of metal get embedded in the paint. So if you ever owned a light colored vehicle and you notice these tiny, tiny little, what looks like rust spots, your vehicle's not really rusting. It's the iron shards that are embedded in your paint that are rusting. See all those little things turning purple? That's the iron reacting with the chemical. And you can, if the car's otherwise clean, you could use iron and fallout remover as a clay bar lubricant, but this car's pretty dirty, so I'm not going to do that. Now this car is going to get a full body clear bra after we're done detailing it. All right, so I dampened my Autofiber barrel blade, and I'm going to clean the wheels using this and the Wheel Paw. This is the Wheel Paw. This is better for the spokes I found, getting kind of behind them. F-Bomb has a soap base, so it provides some degree of lubricant. And then I've got this kind of medium bristle brush, and I'm going to just kind of scrub the tire. And that's to get not just grease off, but I'm trying to get any of that additional tire shine off. And we're just going to do this for the other wheels and come right back. Now in this car, we're going to take a couple extra steps just because it's so filthy and because of the level of prep required. So I'm going to rinse this off instead of using it as a clay bar lube as I talked about. Then I'm going to foam cannon it, wash it, and then I'm going to foam it again, or rinse it off, then foam it again, and I'm going to use the foam as a clay bar lubricant. You can see where there's some adhesive residue right here, and it's just collected dirt. And so I'm going to kind of get that off with the Rapid Tac, and you can kind of see the line along here. This isn't really a common thing that we have to deal with, but you know, it can happen. All right, so I got the adhesive remover burning my lungs, and now I'm gonna rinse the car off. There we go. You can use American Detailer Garage Fuzion. It's basically our foaming version of Wipeout. And like I said, we're going to do this first foam. We're definitely taking more steps here than are probably necessary. But we tend to err on the side of caution, especially before a clear bra job, PPF job. You don't necessarily have to do this if you're just washing your car. You'd be fine with the pre-treatment of the wheels and, you know, foam and a mitt, but you're gonna see some other extra steps we're gonna take here. All right, what we have here, I'm filling up a bucket with deionized water. You can get these grit guards and this attachment. It's like a pump attachment on our site. And basically we're gonna use this to rinse. And when you put this is a Zero Cuff Mitt. It's our favorite Autofiber mitt. When you push this in, see how it does that? So it kind of like rinses and scrubs. We have a couple different versions of stuff on our site, but you can get that there. All right, we're gonna use the Zero Cuff Mitt. We're gonna work top to bottom, side to side, and you know, we don't wanna start down here and then we go back up to here, because then all the grit or all the crap that comes from up here is gonna intermingle down here. So we're always gonna go best we can based on the design of the vehicle. Sometimes it's a little bit harder than others, but we're gonna go top to bottom, side to side. And then every so often, you're gonna rinse it out. There's actually not a lot of dirt left on this after all the pre-treatment. All right, because this car is pretty dirty, or was dirty at one point, I'm gonna rinse it off, then I'm gonna foam can it again. I almost never do this twice, so you could probably skip some of this, depending upon what your car is like, but I wanna get this off before I clay bar. This paint is really rough, and I don't know, you know, what they did before the vinyl or after the removal, so that's why I'm taking these extra steps. All right, I told you we're gonna foam cannon again, and really you could use, you could even use American Detailer Garage Wipeout. That's a little bit more concentrated as a clay bar lubricant. But because we're doing clear bra, I'm gonna spray foam again, because I'm also gonna use a detailing brush to hit the edges. All right, next we're gonna use clay bar. You could also use a clay mitt, clay disc. There's all kind of options. I still use the old yellow clay. This paint is so rough. I don't know, you're probably not gonna be able to hear it on the microphone, but it sounds like I'm rubbing sandpaper here. And the reason we use clay bar in general, not specifically to PPF, is because not just iron, but other contaminants get embedded in the paint the same way the iron does that we talked about in the decontamination step. And this clay bar is gonna kind of grab them and pull them out. And so what felt like sandpaper before, I don't know if you can hear that on camera. Can you hear that on camera, Mike? You hear that? You hear that? You see the difference? Hopefully you can hear that on camera. Mike is nodding. He says that you can hear it, so we'll see what happens when it goes to YouTube. Now, when it comes to PPF specifically, we don't want those contaminants in the paint, because when we lay film down, it could, you know, a contaminant that wouldn't come off with just a wash sponge may come up with the adhesive on the film, and then it looks like debris, like dust or something. All right, we're gonna do this final rinse, and then we're gonna dry with the Dreadnought drying towel. Now, sometimes if I'm going straight into PPF, I don't dry with anything except for our F-lint or our Korean twist zero lint towels, because I don't want any lint to remain. But because I'm not PPFing today, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. I'm gonna prep the car today, I'm gonna dry with the Dreadnought, but I'm gonna rinse it off tomorrow anyways to try to dislodge any last bit before I get started. All right, we're gonna use our new Dreadnought Max to dry this off. The Dreadnought Max differs from the standard Dreadnought, which is our most popular drying towel, in the sense that it has an extra layer between. It makes it a little bit stiffer, which is nice, and also the water from one side doesn't absorb to the other side as fast. All right, now we always use spot-free water here. So if this water drips out, see how it's like, it may be hard to see because it's a white car, but see how it drips out? it's not going to leave a water stain on our car because we use spot-free water here. But if you don't have spot-free water, and you're going to want to dry it, and you don't want to be working on the rest of the car, and meanwhile the car is like leaking everywhere, and then the sun hits it or something if you're a mobile detailer, and then it leaves this stain and kind of damages your work. Or if you're ceramic coating, it may just interfere, or polish, it may interfere. You don't want to get water on your polish while you're trying to polish. It's always messy. So you can kind of string them together too, even like this. And then if you have a car, like a Corvette, it's mostly composite plastic, but there's some metal skin. You can string, and if you get enough drip strips, you can string them across. So if this was a car that I was concerned about, you could do this. See the water? It's going to fall out. That water is going to fall out at some point, right? But this is basically a Dreadnought towel, but in drip strip form with magnets. So, we could do this. No more dripping. And I got a bunch of these things, and they're really useful. You can see how it's like the water's weeping out of here. So same thing. You don't want that water staining the car or interfering with the rest of your work. All right, if you watched our other video about how to dry, you know that we tend to use compressed air. You may not have access to compressed air, but if you do, I highly recommend it to blow out the lug nuts at a minimum and to blow off the tires. I like to do that for the same reason I like to use the drip strips. I don't want the lug nuts seeping water. But then what we have is we have the Autofiber wheel flip, and it comes in different sections. You can kind of put your hand in it like a mitt if you need to, and you can get the last little bit of water or residue remaining. Really good idea to use before ceramic coating, just in case there's like the slightest bit dirt left. But by now with the Wheel Paw and the barrel blade, you really shouldn't have much left. I have tons of videos that show you how to clean your windows inside and out, and I got a whole video that just shows you the process from start to finish. But just a quick thing, we like to use American Detailer Garage Breeze, and then I tend to use the inside out amphibian glass towel. It's got a twisted pile side on one side and a smooth on the other, and it's pretty streak free, and I like it because it's a little stiff. So we can clean here, and you see there's a little bit of streak left. I can kind of tidy that up a little bit. Bam, no streaks. All right, the last step before we really get ready to work on the car is we're going to use the Zen mop, which can be used kind of as a squeegee, a dust mop, and a drying mop, and it comes with 3 heads for the mop itself. And they're basically like a Zero Cuff Mitt, honestly, in a mop form. And this will replace most of our floor cleaning stuff in the shop. You see look how much water I can push with this. So the Zen mop can go side to side, you see it here, and then you can lock it into place if you want. And you can also lock it in lower or higher positions. See how it's kind of locked there? So I say that to say, we can get this and see how and we can bring all that dirt that we washed out, we can bring it out so that hopefully it doesn't dry off and then contaminate our PPF install.